Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. This is something very exciting I want to share with you today. This is about monitoring and discovering a threatened native plant in New South Wales, in the Royal National Park in southern Sydney. Now, I'm not going to give too much away, but the plant is Prostanthera densa, the villous mint bush. It's a plant I've been working on as part of the New South Wales Saving Our Species project. Today is an extremely exciting event where a population that we've been trying to find has been rediscovered after about 45 years. So I've been monitoring and surveying all the known populations in New South Wales, and they go from Nelson Bay down to the Shoalhaven on the New South Wales coast. But there's been a record in the national park we have not been able to find that was collected in the 1970s, about 45 years ago. One of my volunteer assistants found the population a couple of weeks ago. It's really exciting, and we've come in here today to document and collect some data from that population, which has not been seen or observed by anyone for about 45 years. So it's really exciting. We're going to show you just some footage today on monitoring a threatened plant, collecting some information, looking at a plant that's threatened with extinction in the wild, and the sort of information and the data we collect. We've got botanists at the Botanic Gardens really excited. They want me to get some data for them and collect some specimens. So it's a really exciting day. I've brought my kids out for the day. We're not going to give the location away, but it's in the Royal National Park, and the management of the Royal are going to be very interested in hearing about the information we find today. So very exciting for me. Like I said, no one's collected a specimen from this particular patch for about 45 years. So very excited about that. Come along with us. Okay, we've started to find them. Prostanthera densa. This is what it looks like. We've had to walk a long way in from the track, a couple of 100 metres, into dense bushland to try and find these. But they've sort of started appearing a bit further than what we thought. We're still heading to the main population, but it's great that we're finding these plants now. There's a very similar species to Prostanthera densa called Prostanthera marifolia. They're very similar, and at times they've been considered the same, and there's an investigation going on into that now as part of this project. These are looking very marifolia-like, but we're calling them Prostanthera densa for now. They look very different to the Marley population, which is sort of east of here. Beautiful. We're finding them already. doing a health check of
Yes.
the plants.
They're Corinthians.
Oh, right. Just give them a health rating. See how well they're doing. Okay, we didn't have too much time to go through the actual plant features in the field, but brought a specimen home. Can probably see it here. I'm going to press it on some newspaper. It's going to go to the Botanic Gardens as a specimen. They'll extract some DNA from it and preserve it as part of their collection as well. So that's all great too. Prostantheras are in the family Lamiaceae. The Lamiaceae family, it's a really good one to get familiar with. It's all those culinary herbs that you might be familiar with. Mint, oregano, lavender, rosemary, lemon balm. A lot of those plants that we use, in cooking. And they've got aromatic leaves, the oils in the leaves. The leaves are also arranged oppositely on the stem. And I'm going to make a future video about leaf arrangements, but it's just when you got the stem and two leaves are opposite each other on the stem. The other thing about Lamiaceae is the stems can be square. They can sort of have square stems, and they're closely related to another family called the Verbenaceae. That's a family with lantana in it, if you know that plant, that serious weed in Australia. And they both have opposite leaves and square stems, but so if you find a plant with square stems, opposite leaves, the leaves have a real pungent smell. And they'll also have this other feature with the flowers. The flowers have got this particular shape where the 5 petals of the flower are sort of fused and sort of divided into, a couple of different parts where, there's a broad lobe and 2 sort of short lobes on the side and a lobe up the top. And that's been referred to as a labiate flower. A labiate-shaped flower, and that's another feature of the Lamiaceae. So labiate-shaped flowers, opposite leaves, and square stems with leaves that smell. The flowers on this Prostanthera densa have dried out a bit. I've got just a much more grandiose example of a beautiful flower in Prostanthera. That's one growing in my garden, and that's called mellissifolia. That's from down the south coast. But that's an example of what the flowers can look like, especially if you prune them and look after them. I'll make a video about this plant later. But that's sort of what we mean by a labiate flower. They're just sort of arranged in a certain way in terms of the petals and the overall shape. Usually there's 4 anthers inside the flower, so that's another typical Lamiaceae feature. So it's a good family to get familiar with. So I've got a specimen here. I have to dry these, I have to press them, and then mail them off to the gardens. And yeah, hopefully it aids the study that's going on and reveals some interesting information. Alright, we finished up for the day. It's getting late, so we've got to get out of here, and we've been here for a while, but we've tagged and recorded about 25 plants. There's literally hundreds in here. So at some stage I've got to come back and do a more thorough population assessment. But we've got 25 plants today in this, sort of new population that hasn't been seen for a while. So this really changes what's known about this endangered or threatened species, Prostanthera densa, here in the wild. It's a second population now in the Royal National Park that we didn't know existed, or we couldn't find its existence anyway. So really happy about the day. Hopefully you saw some action during the video. That's a threatened species survey, that's how it runs. If you want to do some census analysis and get some data. Yeah, hopefully we can show you a few more videos like this in the future. Hope you enjoyed it. Cheers.